All right. Welcome on a Friday evening. I'm Lori Woodruff, real estate professional in the Maryland area. And I wanted to make sure that I'm coming to you now to give you some amazing new information that may be very helpful for someone who's purchasing a home in Prince George's County in Maryland. Okay. So the program that we're talking about here is called Pathway to Purchase. And I'm going to say I've seen this program offer $25,000 to help someone towards closing costs and their down payment. But now it's $50,000. And that is very huge for someone who is about to make their first purchase. Even if you purchased, let's say 7 years ago, you're considered a first time buyer in this particular sense. So, this program is huge for folks that have been sitting on the sidelines about buying a home, but this is cash to close has been probably a soft tender point of why they haven't. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the program, leave my information. Of course, if it's something that you know or someone else needs this information to, let's talk about it. All right. So again, I've been a real estate professional in this area for 25 years. So I've seen this program and I've seen different types of down payment program, but nothing like this where it offers this amount of money. All right. When most buyers are purchasing a home, they're making the money. They probably have their credit score okay, but the down payment could be a place where they don't have that. And it may take a little while to get the savings together. So here's an example on a $400,000 home. If your down payment is 5%, that's $20,000. All right. You can get that from savings. You can get that as a gift from a family member. You might get it from your 401k. That's $20,000. Then you also have to pay closing cost. All right. So closing cost is not a guarantee from the seller that they have to pay that. So you as the buyer, you have to pay that. And in this particular area in Maryland, it's going to run anywhere between 5 and 6% of the sales price. So let's take the worst part, 6%. 6% of $400,000 is $24,000. If you add those two numbers together, one would need about $44,000 of their money to buy their first home on a $400,000 scenario. So yes, sellers can pay, but sellers are not required to pay your closing cost. So where does that money come from? So that's the stickler on why some people don't buy. Now, this could be the easy layup for someone if they're purchasing their home in Prince George's County because those two costs are taken care of. And if you can get up to $50,000 from anyone and don't have to pay it back, chef's kiss. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the program. Pathway to Purchase program is only available for those that are purchasing in Prince George's County. I'm looking right now at properties. 958 homes are available. You've got plenty of homes to choose from that are under $485,000. So there's no shortage of properties out there. You can buy a brand new home. You can buy a resale property. That's not a problem. You can also get a short sale, a foreclosure. You can get a condo if you want. So all of those type of sales and types of properties you can get access to. If you're buying a resale home, they're going to cap the sales price at $448,000. If you're buying new construction, they increased it where you can purchase up to $485,000. So that way you can kind of work with your realtor and kind of know there's a range as long as you don't exceed those numbers. Okay. Another benefit to the program is that there's no monthly payment due on that loan. Yes, it is a loan. It's not a grant. But as long as you live in the property for at least 10 years, you do not have to pay that loan back, which is amazing. So if you stayed in the home, let's say for 4 years, something comes up and you have to move out of the area, then the portion of that would have to be paid back because you're already in it 40% pretty much. So you would just have to pay back 60% of that loan. All right. So that's it. You just pay it off when you sell the property. But if you stay in there for 10 years, there's no monthly payment and you don't have to pay it back. All right. So let's talk about credit requirements. What are the credit score requirements? As long as you have at least a 620 credit score or higher, you're eligible. You're eligible. If you have less than a 620, then this would be the time to connect so that we can have that. I do specialize with credit as well. So if that is a conversation that we have to have with your lender to see what is needed to get your credit score up, time is of the essence, because when the 50,000, when that pool of money goes down, it's not coming back. So we just can't say, well, wait until September and see what happens. When the money is gone, the money is gone. All right. So by this time, we know credit runs everything on earth in America. So the credit score, they do have requirements for this program where it's at least a 620. If anything lower than that, if I've seen some lenders get it approved for a 580, but it really just depends on the entire file. All right. Let's talk about income. There are income limitations so that if there are 1, 2, 3, 4 individuals in the household, the income can't exceed a certain amount. So for example, if it's just you in the household, the income cannot exceed $91,800 for the year. That's your salary. It should not exceed that in order to qualify for this particular program. If there's 2 people in the household that have a pay stub, then that income cannot exceed over $104,900. All right. So let's say you and your child live in the household and your 20-something-year-old child is working a part-time job. That income is counted. It's household income, can't exceed, depends on how many people are in the household. If it's 3 people in the household, your income cannot exceed $118,000, and it goes up from there. Just depending on what the lender says, and you guys will have that conversation on how many are actually in your household. All right. So we talked about you can get up to $50,000 if you're purchasing brand new, resale, condo in Prince George's County. Credit score has to be at least a 620 or higher. The income requirements are there so that you make $500,000, you can't just slide in and try to get the county's money. They're not going to do that. They have limitations. All right. The process of how long this process is going to take is going to take you up to 60 days to get to closing. And the reason for that is because your file is going in 2 different hands. One, your mortgage lender has to approve you, get the appraisal done, get your income and credit underwritten, all of that. Once it's approved, then they ship it to the Prince George's County office. And that housing department has to review everything that the lender did, and they're the ones that's giving the up to $50,000. They approve it, and then you can go to closing. Okay. The housing office is also going to require a couple of things that gets done, 2 extra things than a normal purchase. One, they're going to require you, which is a great thing, is home buyer counseling. You want to get that done anyway, because if you're buying your first home anyway, you need to understand the rhythm of homeownership. You need to understand it. And I believe that's a wonderful thing. Either you can do online or in person. The lender will let you know. The second thing that the housing office requires is a second home inspection. You're going to get one done anyway with your realtor. You want to get that done anyway because you want to check the pulse of the house. You really want to check and see what's going on. Are there any maintenance issues? Is there anything wrong with this property that I need to know now? The other inspection is really done for Prince George's County Housing's benefit to make sure that house is safe. They're giving you a good amount of money, so they do want to make sure that there's no safety issues, there's no hazardous issues really going on with that house. So your realtor, will work together to figure out what that's needed. But these are not the type of houses that you want to get into that need work. You don't want a house that's fallen down or it's an HGTV special where it has to have a whole lot of work. You want to find something that's new construction or in move-in condition where it needs minimal repairs, or the seller is willing to do whatever items may come from the inspection. That's an ideal situation for you. So I've seen it, one conversation. So those are pretty much the parameters of what they're looking for. And that's it. So it's nothing, again, you don't have to pay it back as long as you know I'm going to stay put for 10 years and I don't have to pay this back. This is a huge investment type move. It's only for owner occupants, but I want you to put your investment hat on here. If ultimately for a $400,000 home, you would have had to spend and come up with about $40,000, and someone else is paying that for you, I want you to think like an investor. If someone else is making that payment for you, it's a no-brainer that you can do this. You should do this. There are many times, I'm sure you've heard stories where you've got friends or family members saying, well, I got into my home for only $500. Well, I got money back at settlement. Like, there's different stories because different people had different opportunities at different times. This is your opportunity time. This is that time where you can actually say, I got $50,000 towards my down payment or closing costs. That's unheard of. That is not something that's offered often. And that's definitely something you want to flex about if you are one of the ones that gets awarded this money. Okay. So from a rental standpoint, I want to give you a scenario that happened today. I want you to start thinking different. The young lady calls and she says, I'm interested in this program. I'm paying $2,700 in rent right now. And I also have a $500 payment. So we were looking at the properties that she was considering. And they were about $400, $450. And I said, well, this payment's about $3,200 a month. She was like, oh, that's a lot. I said, how is that a lot when you're already paying it? She says, how so? I said, you are paying $2,700 in rent and you're paying a $500 car payment. She was like, yeah, but if I'll still have the car. I said, well, what if you didn't have the car payment anymore? Then if you purchase a home, you're doing the same thing as what you're doing right now, but renting. Renting $2,000 a month, you're blowing over $24,000 every single year. Owning allows you to put in equity at least $30,000 plus every single year. There's a difference. There's a difference. One is a deficit and one is added equity that you see when you add it into your home value. Every single year, as you're in the home, you don't even need to do any improvements to it. The neighborhood automatically increases. Typically in my area, Prince George's and Anne Arundel County, typically about 5 to 7% every single year. Everything else goes up. Why wouldn't your equity go up? So focus on, all right, if I'm buying a $400,000 home, next year, this time, this value should be at least $420 minimum. If you're renting, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work the same way. You're going to be paying more rent next year, paying more money out the door. Now, everyone's not ready to purchase a home. I'm not barking that everyone has to own. This is for the ones that can see it and can see further than just the rent payment. These are the ones I'm speaking to. So back to the story. She had the money in her savings account where she could pay the $5,000 off for her car payment. So in her scenario, if she were to purchase a home, it would have been more than $5,000 that she would have had to pay. She invested that in and paid her car off, her $5,000 car off. She's already paying $2,700 in rent. Her habit of payment is already there. Her habit of paying the car is already there. So if you marry those two numbers together, how much is she paying? $3,200. So now the car payment is gone. She's purchasing a home for that same amount. And basically it's like she only spent $5,000. But she would have spent more if she didn't have this Pathway to Purchase program. She would have spent more in closing costs because she would have had to pay that and still kept the car because she probably would not have paid the car off. In this scenario, you've got a huge leg up because the county is paying up to $50,000, and that allows you the liberty. In her case, she has the money that she can pay the car off, so it makes sense for her. There are so many different scenarios. The second person I spoke to today, they're renting an apartment. $2,400. All right, these rents are not cheap. So she's paying $2,400 already. Her lease is not up until August. So I want you to think about it. First thing I'm thinking about is she's thinking about, I can't leave until August. That's not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how much is it to pay to get out of that lease early. I already knew the answer. I knew it was 2 months. Typically, most apartments, they understand. They're not going to try to strap you in these days. So, 2 months is the penalty, 2 months rent is the penalty to get out. So, in her situation, she has to pay nearly $5,000 to get out. She has the money. Okay. So in that scenario, you look at what is on the table for everyone's different scenario. She has the money to pay out. That now she can leave early if she wants to. She doesn't have to wait until August because we can't guarantee that this program will be here in August, let alone July. So we can't promise that. So she has the means, she can pay it off. Now she can leave early. Now that leaves her open to start getting pre-approved to get access to this $50,000 now. Got it? So your scenario may be something different that we might need to talk about. I'd love to talk with you a little bit more about it, but I at least wanted to make sure you knew the highlights of this program, whether it's for you or it's for someone else that you know that is looking to purchase their first home in Prince George's County. Up to $50,000 is available. Does not need to be repaid as long as they live in the home for 10 years. 620 plus credit score. And that's about it. They can buy new home, new construction, a resale home. It doesn't matter as long as they qualify. All right. So I would say, let's talk. And I do have lenders, approved lenders, that can only do this program. So everyone can't do it. So there is an approved lender and there's an approved title company that has to be able to do this. There are a lot of moving parts with this type of transaction, and Prince George's County does not want to waste it by just anyone fumbling the ball. So let's make sure that we connect so I can get you with the right people and get you into a home this year, okay? I'll leave my contact information in the comments, certainly, so if we need to contact and get this process started for you. Have a great one.